As tension between the executive and legislative arms of government intensifies, talks of a possible impeachment of President Muhammadu Buhari doused. And as the threat of arrest and more summons of members of President Buhari's cabinet is rife in the National Assembly, and also the debate for immunity for lawmaker heats up, we examine the now tense relationship between the executive and the legislature. And that's our focus on the program. Many thanks for joining in, everyone. Wherever you're watching us, this is Politics Today live from Channels Television from our global headquarters in Lagos. And I'm Sean Wakimbale. Well, let's take a quick look at some of the top political stories we're following this time.
Political roundup on Channels Television. Here are your top political stories this time.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari today was in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, to flag off the 2016 Army Day celebrations. After touching down, the president was received by members of the National Assembly and some state governors. It is the president's first visit to the state since assumption of office in May of 2015. On the occasion of the visit, security in and outside the state was intense. And the People's Democratic Party in the Southwest has met with strong resolutions coming out of their deliberations headed by Mr. Eddie Olafeso. The meeting had several other leaders in the region in attendance, alongside the Ondo State Governor, Olusegun Mimiko, who spoke about the issues of discipline within the party. After weeks of intense bickering over who flies the flag of the APC at the Edo State governorship election in September, Governor Adams Oshomole and his deputy, Mr. Pius Odubu, have reconciled. The governor and his deputy fell out after Mr. Odubu indicated interest to run for the #1 seat in the state. Governor Oshomole has been criticized for anointing his own candidate, whom many fear he would foisten them. As everyone awaits more interpretation and orders from the court over the tussle for the Abia governorship seat, some legal perspectives continue to emerge. Mr. Festus Keyamo is the latest to add his voice to the debate on the decision of the court. In a press statement issued today by the lawyer, titled The Illegality of Dr. Ikpeazu's Continued Stay in Office as Governor of Abia State, Mr. Keyamo says, quote, "In the circumstance, the Independent National Electoral Commission acted legally and correctly by instantly issuing a certificate of return to Dr. Samson Uchechukwu Oga." He also says that since Dr. Oga was issued a certificate of return, it is constitutionally abnormal and legally paradoxical that a person with a validly issued certificate of return should not occupy that office immediately, and the person with an invalidated certificate of return continues to occupy the seat. He went further to say Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu is operating illegally as governor of Abia State, and all his actions, orders and anything done in that capacity are null, void and of no effect. Dr. Samson Uchechukwu Oga should be sworn in immediately as governor of Abia State, pending the appeal lodged by Dr. Okezie Victor Ikpeazu. That is the only way to go to enthrone legality in Abia State. End of quote.
And you're up to date. Those are your top political stories you need to know.
Thank you so much for staying with us, everyone. Let's begin the conversation. Some interesting issues coming on the table tonight. Some of the very strong stories coming from the National Assembly. This one first came as a rumor, but as it went around, it took attention of everyone on the reasons that it probably was generating. Well, the matter of a possible impeachment of President Muhammadu Buhari came up, and the last few days, a lot of people are concerned with the reasons. But today, a lawmaker representing Bauchi Central Senatorial District, Issa Misau, has refuted reports making the rounds in the media alleging his call for the impeachment of the president. The senator, who made the observation through a point of order on the floor of the upper legislative chamber, described the rumor as malicious. It will be recalled that members of the Senate went into a closed-door session, after which some media reports quoted the lawmakers of planning to bring up an impeachment proceeding on the president. Well, and also today from the National Assembly, we saw the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, appear before the Senate committee over the charges of forgery filed against principal officers of the Senate in public interest. Mr. Malami, who appeared before the Senate Committee on Judiciary and Human Rights after 3 invitations by the committee, insists that the current rules and proceedings of the Senate did not pass through the right processes. It will be recalled that the Senate on June the 23rd had passed a resolution to summon the Attorney General on why he filed charges of forgery against his principal officers. Well, let's get some perspectives on the matter. A federal lawmaker representing Kaduna Central Senatorial District of Kaduna State, Senator Shehu Sani, joins us from our Abuja studio. And here with me in the studio here is Mr. Yinka Odumake, a former delegate to the 2014 Confab and a spokesperson of the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Group at Fenifere. He joins us also on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for coming on the program. Let's begin now with the conversation now with Mr. Senator Shehu Sani. Some of the issues generating from the National Assembly, it clearly shows that the relationship between the executive and the legislature, for example, rumors of impeachment on the president, one would be wondering, has it gotten to that state that things have really gone sour between the two arms of government?
Well, thank you very much. Well, the rumor emanated from what transpired during the closed-door session of the Senate. And closed-door session was a session purely for senators. No aides, no security details, and no journalists. Then, because impeachment is such a very strong and serious legislative instrument, does not mean if one person simply uttered it, doesn't mean that it is the mood of the Senate. And this, what really happened was as a result of the issues that came up between the Committee on Judiciary, the invitation which they extended to the Attorney General of the Federation. So this simply added to the whole controversy and became a major issue in our national headlines.
It's quite interesting that this kind of talks will come forward because a lot of things, a lot of people were talking about since the alleged forgery case came up, whether or not some of the senators are afraid to be prosecuted, maybe their hands are dirty, and one would be wondering what exactly is the situation of things, because the threat of arrest even came on the Attorney General of the Federation, questions about why would he even think about prosecuting senators or lawmakers or their principal officers?
Well, I don't think there is any senator in his right sense of judgment should question the function of the Attorney General to prosecute any person within the jurisdiction of his office to have violated the law. He has a duty to perform. Likewise, the senators, within the constitutional ambit of the state, they also have the right to invite him to come and explain on issues. But I think the problem has to do with the fact that 3 times he was written, they wrote to him 3 times, and it turns out he couldn't attend until recently, when the whole issue becomes so controversial, and then he appeared, I think, today. So if he had appeared when the first letter was written to him, we couldn't have reached to this very peak of controversy.
Okay, that's a very good time for us to go on the first break on the program. And when we return, Mr. Yinka Odumakin is here with me. He was going to weigh in on this matter and the public interest. When they say issues of public interest, what does it really mean? And what is happening between these two arms of government is getting tensed up, really, in the political atmosphere.